Alright, today we're going to talk about circles. For circles, there's three main formulas you're going to need. The very first one's going to be your circle formula. That's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. The next one you're going to need is your distance formula. That's d equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And then lastly is the midpoint formula. That's x1 plus x2 divided by 2 and y1 plus y2 divided by 2. An easier way to remember the midpoint is to find the middle of something is you average it. So you're taking the two x values and you're averaging them. You add them and divide. Then you're taking the two y values and you're averaging them. You add them into divide. Which formula you use is going to be based on whatever the question asks you. So let's look at the question I have at the top. Find the equation in the standard form of a circle whose diameter has endpoints at 3, -3 and -5, -1. So they gave us a circle. So right off the bat, we know eventually we're going to have to use the circle formula. So let's look at the circle formula. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. What you need to know about the circle formula. H and k is an ordered pair. And that is the ordered pair very specifically of the center. And if they give you ordered pairs but they don't say this is the center, then it's not going to be h and k. So they would normally say this is the center. The circle has a center at this point, would be what they would word it as. So we have to be able to find the center. So they gave us a circle whose diameter, so that's a word we need to make sure we know, has endpoints at 3, -3 and -5, -1. So let's think about how a circle looks. You get a circle, the diameter goes all the way across, right? And it has two endpoints at the very end of each side of the diameter. If we want the center, that's going to be in the very middle. Okay. So to find the center when given the endpoints of a diameter, we've got to find the middle, which would be the midpoint. So we're going to use the midpoint formula to find the center. Okay. So I'm going to go and label my points. I have x1 and I have y1. I have x2 and I have y2. So when I plug it into my formula, I need x1 plus x2. So x1, that's going to be 3, plus x2 is a -5, all divided by 2. Again, this is an ordered pair, so it's separated by a comma. y1 is -3, plus from my formula, y2 is -1. And divide. Remembering it is an ordered pair. So 3 plus a -5 is going to be a -2. -3 plus a -1, that's a -4. -2 divided by 2. And -4 divided by 2. So that's going to be where my center ends. So now I have my center. That tells me that -1 is h, and -2 is k. So over here, I have my centerpieces already set out, so when I get to the circle formula. For my circle formula, it says x minus h squared. Okay, I can do that. X minus -1 squared. Then it says plus y minus k squared. So plus y minus k is -2 equals r squared. Now r is your radius. I don't have my radius yet. My radius is going to be this distance. And since radius is a distance, you may need the distance formula if it doesn't tell you that. So let's simplify this really quick before I get to the radius. That's going to end up being x plus 1 squared, double negative, y plus 2 squared, equals, and then we're going to have something squared we still need to put over here. Right. I'm going to erase my circle diagram so I can do the distance formula. We want the distance from the center to the edge. That's going to be your radius. From the center to the very edge. So our center is our midpoint. -1, -2. And it does not matter which of the points you use because they're both on an edge. So I can go from the center to the far edge, or I can go from the center to this edge. It doesn't matter which way I go as long as I only go one way. So I'm going to take the 3, -3 just for the fact that it came first. Okay. Then as I go to work them out, I'm going to label my points. Does not matter which one is x1 or x2, that doesn't matter at all. The distance to somewhere is the exact same as the distance back. So it doesn't matter which one you put as x1 or x2. So I'm going to put the top one that I happen to write down as 1, and the second one as 2. This should be y1. Okay. So my distance formula. D equals the square root of x2, that's 3, minus from my formula, x1 is -1, close parentheses, squared, plus sign, open parentheses, we have y2, minus from my formula, y1, close parentheses, and squared. Okay, so that's everything plugged in. I do have 2 double negatives that I'm going to have to work with. So I'm going to simplify those away real quick. 3 plus 1 and -3 plus 2 squared. 3 plus 1 is 4. And -3 plus 2 is -1. That's going to give us 16 plus 1 square root of 17. Now, a lot of people at this point are extremely tempted to put it in the calculator and get a decimal. The only problem with that is decimals aren't as exact as square roots are. So I'm going to leave it as the square root of 17. Plus, it has the bonus feature when I come over here and I'm plugging it in for my radius squared. Because that's the distance from the center to the edge, that is my radius. So I come over here and I say the square root of 17. And then I'm going to square that. The square root and the square knock each other out. And all I'm left with is 17. All right, so I have x plus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 17, because that was my radius squared. That's going to be my equation of my circle and my final answer. Thanks very much.